Hi, judges. My name is Alexis Sweet, and I'm a contestant at Garland High School. My piece is titled The 98%. I don't know about y'all, but I spend 90% of every day already stressing about the next. Coming into this room, I already have a mile-long to-do list for tomorrow. After getting home, probably close to 10, I'll set my alarm for a 6 a.m. workout, noon run through of my OO, 1 p.m. make a plan to solve world hunger, 3 o'clock I definitely need to ensure I'll be valedictorian. Maybe I'll give myself 30 minutes for that one. And then by 3:30, I should be heading in the direction of getting accepted into Harvard Medical, Law, and Business, all before 3 hours of volleyball practice. Now, that schedule may seem extreme, but that's the schedule of a student athlete who pushes herself to excel not only on the court, but also in the classroom. And why? To become a statistic that states that only 2% of those athletes will end up going pro. That crazy schedule, though, relates to something bigger. A 2017 NCAA study shows that suicide is the number 2 leading killer among student athletes after cardiac arrest. Surprising, I know, especially since my to-do list gives me a heart attack just about every time I look at it. We need to stop the flow and never-ending cycle of athletes getting used, abused, and disregarded after their athletic careers are done with no tools on how to be successful at life, not just sports. Today, we'll begin by voicing concerns on how student athletes, no matter their age, are being set up for failure, and how this doesn't just impact the players on the court, but also the people who didn't even realize they were playing, like you. And lastly, we'll set it up to see the light at the end of a hopeful tunnel for future athletes. So, to put it frankly, we as parents, teachers, students, and athletes ourselves are forgetting the stone cold hard fact that students should, and most importantly, must come before athlete, and the term coined student athlete, which, according to the NCAA, is a term that covers roughly 8 million students today alone in the U.S. These majority of students, we can assume, are being double blocked for their sport, which causes them to inevitably prioritize sports over academics. And every single athlete is guilty of that. I mean, who can blame them? They're on a time crunch from day one, and priority one is winning. This culture is best summed up in a quote from NFL executive and former coach Vince Lombardi. If winning isn't everything, then why do we keep score? I'm confused. We don't keep score in real life based off of a scoreboard, but honestly, by how much money you're making. So why are we not helping these student athletes put points on the board and dollars in their wallets? This culture is also being shown at the collegiate level as well. A former North Carolina football player, Devon Ramsey, witnesses this when explaining that there exists a culture that demonizes anything that doesn't directly help the program, like internships, which he uses as just one example of many to showcase just how limiting sports programs are when it comes to opportunities off the field, both mentally and academically. We are treating these athletes as if they're in a greenhouse, pushing them, letting them thrive in this nice, warm environment. Okay, 5 a.m. practices are definitely not warm, but warm to the outside of the greenhouse, which is cold and true to the only facts and values of what ultimately matters to these sports programs: money. Now we kick these student athletes out of the program and out of the greenhouse when they fail out, get injured out, or maybe get their spot taken by another athlete. And what happens? They get thrown back out into the real world. Eminem says it best when explaining, "I've been chewed up, spit out, and booed off stage." We cultivate this always win path in everything athletes do from such of a young age that more often than not, the classroom always ends up losing. So the question is, are student athletes really and truly able to excel on the court and in the classroom? And that's a great question. But why does it matter for the people who are able to look at a basketball and could immediately decide, jam fingers are just not for me? And that's totally okay. But this student-athlete dilemma affects us all. All parents, all teachers, all students, and especially all taxpayers. Now, as long as there's no one in here committing tax fraud, that holds true. Since, sadly, at some point in our lives, you and I will be forced to pay taxes, the federal government chooses where to spend that money. So let's break it down. In 2018, $1.28 trillion was given to higher education institutions from federal funding sources. The Data Lab of U.S. Spending analyzes this money and shows that it flowed to colleges and universities through three main vehicles: student aid, grants, and contracts. Now, these contracts represent money going towards these collegiate athletes to pay for their scholarships and money going towards high schools to support their sports programs. That is a lot of money going to support this greenhouse athlete system, a system that ultimately does not prepare its students to become taxpayers themselves. So think of that the next time you get upset that your tax money isn't going towards fixing that messed up road in front of your house or improving the power grid. The student athlete is affected, and so are we all. So how does this problem get fixed so we can get your roadways back to tip-top condition and, of course, turn out successful high school and college graduates? The first step is actually already in progress as we speak. Literally. That's spreading awareness. Now that you know about the rising issue as fellow students and teachers, you can help. Even just talking it through, I know has helped me gain a perspective. It's about bringing a culture of success in the classroom first. That means the court and the field comes second. Even if that means deleting a game or two from the athletic schedule completely. As a high school athlete myself, it's honestly terrifying to look at my schedule juggling academics and athletics. I am already stressed, overtired, and anxious, and sadly, my grades suffer. Even with a supportive and understanding family, friends, and coach, it nearly isn't enough. And it's basically impossible to do both. Most of my volleyball friends are not very academic. And most of my academic friends are not into sports. And I honestly find that heartbreaking, seeing how each has so much to add to a student's well-being. And if it is athletics at the expense of academics, you had better hope you're among the 2% that make it pro. For the rest, you could end up with a broken down body, useless degree, and very few life skills. This issue is very personal for me, as my relationship with volleyball is longer than any relationship I have ever had and probably will ever have. Yet, because of volleyball, I have not gone through a single week of school thus far without missing some kind of academic time due to my sport. What? I thought being on a varsity sport was supposed to be some kind of great, amazing, rewarding experience. And it so can be, sometimes. The other times, it's just added stress. So, how do we make it work? Student athletes must be given the tools to be successful on the court before the tools to be successful on the field. We, as a community, need to stop the flow and never-ending cycle of athletes getting used, abused, and disregarded after their athletic careers are done. This will lead to less stress, less dropouts, and more successful at-life graduates. Being a student athlete, at least the 98% that don't end up going pro, should not be a burden and on a road to failure. Let's make it so that the athlete and the home team always wins. Thank you.